Good afternoon. Welcome to the March 1st work session of the Portsmouth Planning Commission, and I thank you for your time and assistance. Mr. Baldwin?
Thank you and good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Great to see you all today. Full panel, appears to me. Welcome to all of you. We're going to start off today with UP 2201. There's an item that you heard at your February meeting, and Julie Chop will give you a presentation on why this is coming back before you today.
Okay. Good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. I'm Julie Chop, Principal Planner with the City of Portsmouth. Due to inconsistencies with the city's public notification of the Planning Commission public hearing for use permit application UP-22-01 for 600 Court Street, this application is being heard again by Planning Commission. The sign in front of the site listed the incorrect date for the Planning Commission public hearing. So the application will not be delayed and is still scheduled to be heard at the March 8th City Council meeting. So if you guys would like, I can redo my presentation from February, or I don't have to. It's up to you.
Commissioners, what's your pleasure? We've heard it before. Thank you.
Okay. I have one more note, just a procedural item. Since you guys already made a motion and voted on a motion for this, we either need to have the Planning Commission affirm the action of the February meeting or rescind the action, which would mean that the motion would be to deny if you rescind. So if you approve the motion from the February meeting, then you're upholding it, and the application will still be recommended for approval. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Next two items on your agenda are going to be recommended for deferral. The first one, the Chesapeake Bay exception 22-01. The applicant made a change to his application towards the actual distribution time of your agenda. We advise him that the staff would have to re-review that new application, and we would request that you go ahead and open the public hearing and then defer the item until your meeting on April the 5th. But if you open the public hearing, then we would not need to re-advertise.
Right. Commissioners, are there any questions of Mr. Baldwin? Thank you, sir.
Okay, your next item for deferral, UP 22-03. We made a determination working with the applicant that their application is incomplete. We won't go in all the details of why it's been deemed incomplete, but it will not be made complete in time to come back to you until your May the 3rd meeting. So we'd request again, in this case, you do not need to open the public hearing. If you could just make a deferral to move the application to your May the 3rd meeting, and we will re-advertise for that meeting.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Baldwin? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now we go to UP 22-04, an actual presentation for you from Stacy Porter.
All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. I'm Stacy Porter, a senior planner with the Planning Department, and I'll provide an overview of the applicant's request. It's use permit UP 2204, downtown. Edward Barker of Court Street Entertainment LLC requests a use permit for an entertainment establishment at 467 Court Street. The site is zoned downtown D1 T5. The property contains a 4-story brick building constructed in 1935 that was formerly a Masonic lodge. The first floor currently contains the Old Town Public House, restaurant, and entertainment establishment. The second through fourth floors formerly contained a nightclub that was closed in 2015. These upper floors are currently vacant. I'll now provide an overview of the surrounding area. The site is surrounded by a mixture of land uses, which include an insurance agency, a pizza restaurant, the Still Restaurant, and Portsmouth Art and Cultural Center, all of which are located in that downtown D1 T5 zoning district. I'll now talk about the proposal. The proposed establishment will be known as the Famous Venue. The primary focus of the establishment will be for wedding ceremonies and receptions. During the wedding off-season, the applicant proposes to use the venue for events such as school proms, bar mitzvahs, family celebrations, and business meetings. The applicant provided the photos of the interior of the facility, which are featured here on this slide. The interior includes 12-foot-high windows, elevated ceilings, vintage brick walls, granite counter bar areas, chandeliers, wall-affixed booth seating, and ballroom flooring. The submitted proposal describes a capacity of approximately 800 persons. However, the final capacity would be determined by the building official. It should be noted that the zoning ordinance has no parking requirement for the downtown D1 zoning district. The downtown businesses and residents share parking resources. The Middle Street parking garage is approximately 500 feet from 467 Court Street and may be a primary source of parking for venue patrons. Staff finds that the proposal complies with the goals and recommendations of the Build 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan, as the proposed use complies with the property's mixed-use downtown and district character area designations and would provide potential job opportunities which would help to strengthen the economy. Staff recommends the approval of the proposed entertainment establishment with the conditions in the staff report, which includes adherence to the use-specific standards for entertainment establishments found in Portsmouth City Code 40.2-217G4B. And that concludes the presentation.
Commissioners, are there any questions of Ms. Porter?
Yes.
Are there two entrances to the front of this building?
There are, yes. One would be for the Old Town Public House, and then where the orange sign is, under that awning is another entrance. And the applicant will be working with the Permits and Inspections Department to establish a separate address for floors 2 through 4. So for right now, the whole property is 467 Court Street.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Ms. Porter.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we will move to Director's Update, and we'll actually move forward to the annual report presentation for Planning Commissioners. A little background on this. The state code requires that the Planning Commission submit to City Council a report on your activities on an annual basis. And so Stacy Porter is going to give you a presentation. I believe you all received a copy of this in your packet. She will go through the presentation. We'd ask you to let us know if you have any changes, modifications, any alterations you would like us to make to the annual report, anything you want us to do with that. And then otherwise, if you give us your concurrence, you don't need to actually vote on this formally in the public session. We give you your concurrence that it's okay. We will have the report forwarded to City Council.
Good afternoon again. I'm Stacy Porter, Senior Planner with the Planning Department. Each of you should have received an updated copy of the 2021 annual report at your place settings. And we did make a little bit of an amendment on page number 6, but I'll go over the report a bit. The Virginia Administrative Code dictates that your annual report is to be provided to the local governing body for their review. Your report, with an introductory greeting addressed to the members of City Council, was addressed from your chairman, Dr. Albert Williams. And next, we provided a listing of your 2021 membership roster. You maintained a full commission of 7 members during the calendar year. The report noted that your City Council liaisons during 2021 were Councilwoman Lisa Lucas Burke and Councilman Christopher Woodard Jr. We then described the purpose of the commission, which largely includes providing recommendations to City Council on land use matters. Other duties that are in partnership with planning staff include the preparation and maintenance of our comprehensive plan and development and implementation of our zoning ordinance. Year 2021 was quite productive. We held 12 public hearings at which you were able to hear 38 applications, and that was a great increase from 2020, as you had only 23 applications during that year. The 4 Chesapeake Bay exception applications required your final determination. You made 34 recommendations on the remaining application requests, which were forwarded to City Council for their final action. The annual report highlights your review and recommendation of 9 of the 38 public hearing items, which include a rezoning to accommodate a new Craddock Fire Station, a rezoning and use permit of a portion of the former Washington Park housing development property to develop a self-storage facility. The proposed name of the facility was Safe Store Self-Storage. A use permit to redevelop a property formerly known as Bonnevilla Apartments to allow for the development of a new 280-unit apartment complex to be known as A4 Acres at Greenwood. 2 use permits to erect LED billboards, one on the westbound side of Interstate 264 and one on High Street in Churchland. The first would be developed by Kenjo Outdoor LLC, and the latter would be developed by Adams Outdoor Advertising. A use permit for an inpatient drug and alcohol facility on Elm Avenue that allowed for the reuse of a vacant facility. The facility would be known as Safe Harbor Tactical Recovery. A rezoning and 2 use permits to allow for the development of Portsmouth's first casino and gaming establishment to be known as Rivers Casino, along with a hotel. A use permit to develop 52 townhomes on High Street on property that is currently vacant. The development would be known as A4 Landing at High Street. And a use permit to raise 41 apartments and replace them with 71 new apartments within the Cross Creek apartment complex on Bird Lane. Finally, staff is most appreciative of your affirmative vote on a code amendment that supported City Council's request to shorten the review of public hearing items from 2 readings to 1. That concludes my overview of your annual report. We respectfully submit this report for your review and welcome amendments or additions. Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any questions or additions?
Yes, I have one.
Absolutely.
This may not be for you, Stacy. I was just wondering if you or Mr. Baldwin could elaborate on, have we heard any feedback regarding us changing them from the 2 readings to 1 for council?
That was approved, and I want to make sure we got that comment there from the director.
Yes, I think we've had pretty much positive response to that change. I know the city attorney's office has to kind of accelerate what they're doing to get the resolutions and ordinances prepared for the first reading instead of the second one. But I think the shortening of the process time and the impact it has on the city council agenda has been appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. Commissioners, are there any additional questions, comments, or concerns? If there are none, would the commission concur with the submission of this report to the city council? We concur, Mr. Baldwin.
Thank you to all the planning commissioners for your hard work during 2021 and your current work during 2022. Next item we have for you today, Meg Pittenger is going to talk to you about the Planning Commission bylaws.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. You were provided a copy of the current bylaws for the Planning Commission. I believe they were last updated in 2015. You're not required to update them at any certain intervals, but we'd like for you to review them, and then, you have a couple of options. One, if everything is fine, you can just leave it as is. You don't have to take any action. If everything is fine, you can choose to re-adopt them as they are at a future meeting. We'll put it on the agenda and you can re-adopt them. Or if you have changes, you can bring that forward. We'll put that on the agenda, and changes can be discussed again at a future meeting. No action is required for you today. So those are kind of your three options. If they're fine and you don't want to do anything, you can just let it be. You could re-adopt them, which kind of accelerates the date. The next time the Planning Commission would look at it and be like, okay, well, it's 2022 when they were re-adopted. Or if you feel like there are changes that need to be made, that can be a future discussion.
Yeah, Meg, the readoption, would that need to concur at our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we would actually put that
So
on the agenda.
all the options are for the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Commissioners, if you have any, after you read through it, if you have any additions, questions, bring those to the April meeting, and we'll consider those before we adopt the current bylaws.
And if you would like for us to place it on the agenda, if you would let us know that in advance so we can put that on
Well,
the
I
agenda.
think we should go ahead and place it on the agenda.
Okay,
Either we will
absolutely.
concur with what we have, or we'll make additions or deletions
Absolutely, we'll do that then.
by way of a vote anyway.
Yes, sir.
And that's all we have for you for this work session, Mr. Chairman, unless you have any questions for staff.
I don't have any. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Baldwin and his staff? There being none, this work session is concluded. We will be back at 1:30 for the beginning of the Planning Commission regular meeting. Thank you. Gentlemen, I would like to welcome you all to this very important meeting today, March 1st, 2022, being held in the City Council chambers. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I will now confirm that all members of the Planning Commission are present by calling the roll. Commissioners, when I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Thaxton,
Present.
Commissioner Coleman,
Here.
Commissioner Page,
Present.
Commissioner Barnes,
Here.
Commissioner Curry,
Present.
Commissioner Hines.
Present.
7 members of the Planning Commission are present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioners, before you are the minutes of the February 1st, 2022 public hearing. We're in need of a motion and a second. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Page?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Curry?
Yes.
Commissioner Hines?
Yes.
The minutes are approved by a vote of 7-0. Announcements of future meetings and conferences. Our next scheduled work session is Tuesday, April the 5th, 2022, at 12:30 p.m., City Council Chamber, followed by Planning Commission public hearing at 1:30 p.m., City Council Chamber. Items reviewed today will be presented to City Council for action at their April the 12th, 2022 public hearing or as otherwise noted. Planning Commission rules limit a speaker up to 5 minutes to speak. We also ask that everyone please silence your cell phones at this time if you have not already done so. Thank you. Our first public hearing, UP-22-01, Downtown, Marlon Mulligan of Realty Property Group 757, requests a use permit for an entertainment establishment in a restaurant and sports bar on 0.087 acre parcel located at 600 Court Street in the downtown D1 T4 Urban Center zoning subdistrict. The future land use map of the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property as mixed-use downtown. The property is owned by Lewis Esther Corp. And is identified as tax map 13, parcel 17. The staff coordinator is Julie Chop. Due to an issue with the notification of the February Planning Commission public hearing for this item will be heard again today. Will the applicant or a representative for this application please come forward and present your application at this time?
Good afternoon, panel.
Good afternoon.
My name is Terrell Epps, and I'm speaking on regards to 600 Court Street. The restaurant will consist of an upscale ambiance with a menu to match basically the detailed decor of the restaurant. I would say flounder, salmon dishes, and pretty much like an upscale sports bar. Instead of like your average like steak and shrimp and stuff like that, it'll be a little more intense on the menu. We will be serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner from the hours of 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. The location was previously a sports bar and restaurant for over 15 years. And from the February 2nd, or the February 1st planning hearing we had, we were voted unanimously in approval to move forward to City Council. And I'm here to acknowledge that we adhere to all recommendations that was recommended from you guys previously. And I'm just here to answer any concerns from any neighboring businesses or any neighboring residents as well.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Epps. Commissioners, are there any questions of Mr. Epps? Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-22-01. I have one additional speaker, Miss Adela Parker. If you could come forward, you have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Adela Parker. I reside at 426 King Street, which is Court and King together. My concerns is about the club that they're opening establishment. Right now in the parking lot that they will be utilizing is already in problems already. We have trash. It's not being governed. It's not being policed. The people in the community, we clean it up in the building. The city doesn't come out and clean it. So we're gonna have more problems than what we have right now if you open up a restaurant that's not being monitored or controlled. So we, the people at 426, ask and request against the permit because we will be the one that cleaning up. We will be the one for the loud noise. Right now, we have an after-hour place that we have right now that's the same parking lot. So that's gonna be bringing in more people. And so when I call the police do not come because it's an issue they don't consider, important. So right now we have children jumping off the trucks. We have liquor bottles, half gallons, marijuana smoke needles. We have a lot in the parking lot that the city has abandoned and do not come and clean it up. So we will be left with that responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-22-01. If there is anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
I was just speaking in regards to the patron that is our neighboring. You said you were at 427, resident, at 427 King Street. When we were at the last meeting, we had basically, I think the church had came out, they're right next door to you. They had spoken in regards to the trash and the things of that sort and the debris and things of that sort. So what we were looking to do and what we kind of explained at the last hearing, that we would have someone designated from the actual location to help govern it, because they would be a neighboring business as well. So we would come in and have somebody particularly with that job description to go and make sure that the outside area is just as clean as the inside area, which would be the parking and anything of that sort. Now, as far as like when I spoke with her prior to the meeting, we had a brief conversation, me and, what was her? Miss Parker, I'm sorry. Her thing was just the allegation of the parking. It shouldn't be as much of an issue. I don't know what their hours of operation is. I don't really expect our patrons to be I don't think our volume is gonna be high at certain hours that would conflict with them with parking, but if it's anything that we could do to iron out this parking situation between them and the church, we are open ears and we're very flexible when it comes in regards to the parking issue.
Thank you, Mr. Epps.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is a public hearing on item UP-22-01. If there's anyone else here who would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, are there any other additional questions or concerns?
I just wanted to ask Ms. Parker, for the trash that is there now, is that coming from this lounge now? You can answer from there, it's fine. The trash and the issue that you're having in that parking lot now, is it coming from this business now?
Well, that business is not open now.
Ms. Parker, you can.
Ms. Parker?
Yeah. Ms. Parker, yeah, you need to come up.
As I stated earlier, this is only gonna contribute to the problem that we already have. And he stated that he's gonna get someone to clean it up. But I had two issues. It's the loud noise and the outside. They mostly outside. For us, the trash is there. But mainly when they come there, they don't be inside the facility. They be outside in the parking lot hanging around. So if you already got an existing problem with them out there hanging around, you're gonna know that they're gonna go out there and join them. So you're gonna have more trash and more problems. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Ms. Parker.
Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions or concerns? Sir, we don't need you to come back.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was gonna speak in regards to his question, saying if we were open or not. We haven't even built out.
Well, I know.
Okay.
You can't open unless you get the approval.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, not a problem. Madam Secretary.
We're at the point we need a motion. The public
Commissioners, you
hearing
may
is closed.
recall that we approved UP-22-01 at our February 1st meeting. We are in need of a motion to reaffirm that vote and a second at this time.
Mr. Chair, no. You got it. I got the second, you go.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the motion Planning Commission made in February, on February 1st of this year, to approve the application with conditions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, we have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to reaffirm the initial February the 1st Planning Commission decision to approve UP-22-01. And I will call the roll, and you call the roll, and you yes or no. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton,
Yes.
Commissioner Curry,
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Hines,
Yes.
Commissioner Page.
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes.
Yes.
Again, this item is approved by a vote of 7-0 with conditions. Our next public hearing is CBE-22-01 Mimosa Cove. Rodney Flores of Pinnacle Group Engineering, Inc., on behalf of William S. Darden Jr., requests a Chesapeake Bay exception for an attached garage and associated best management practices, BMPs, at 801 Mimosa Road. The property is zoned urban residential UR and is further described as tax map 637, parcel 6.1. The Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan's future land use map recommends high-density, single-family residential development for the property. This item is going to be deferred until our April the 5th, 2022 public hearing, but we will open the public hearing today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item CBE-22-01. If there's anyone here who would like to address this application, you may come forward at this time, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed. Oh, no, pardon me. We will not close the public hearing. We will continue the public hearing until the April the 5th meeting.
Commissioners, the CBE 22-01 is being deferred until our April 5th meeting. Are there any questions or concerns at this time?
Yeah.
Okay. So the chair is in need of a motion to defer CBE 22-01 until our April 5th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for deferral for CBE 22-01 to the April 5th meeting, 2022.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, we have a motion and a second to defer CBE 22-01 until our April 5th meeting.
Motion and second. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Curry?
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Hines?
Yes.
Commissioner Page?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes? This item is deferred until the April the 5th Planning Commission meeting. Our next item is UP-22-03 Prentice Park. Edward K. Messiah of Geta Homes LLC requests a use permit for a two-family dwelling on approximately 0.19 acres of land located at 1020 Fayette Street in the urban residential UR zoning district. The future land use map of the Build 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for single-family residential high density. The property is owned by Geta Home LLC and is identified as tax map 71, parcel 95. The staff coordinator is Julie Chop. This item is deferred until our May the 3rd Planning Commission meeting, and we will not open the public hearing. Our next item, UP.
I believe we need to vote to defer this.
Okay.
Commissioners, the chair is in need of a motion to defer UP-22-03.
I'd like to make a motion to defer UP-22-03 until May 3rd, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Commissioners, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion and second to defer UP-22-03 until our May the 3rd meeting. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton,
Yes.
Commissioner Curry,
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Hines,
Yes.
Commissioner Page.
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes.
Yes.
This item is deferred until our May the 3rd, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Our next item, UP-22-04 Downtown. Edward Walker of Court Street Entertainment LLC requests a use permit for an entertainment establishment at 467 Court Street in the downtown D1 T5 zoning subdistrict, and is further described as tax map 6, parcel 9. The Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan's future land use map designates this property as mixed-use downtown. The staff coordinator for this item is Stacy Porter. Will the applicant or representative for this application please come forward at this time and present your application?
Good evening. My name's Edward Walker. So currently, I'm the owner of Old Town Public House, which is a restaurant on Court Street. And the location, I bought that building, I would say, a little over a year ago during the pandemic. And we kind of been waiting to open it up to do a wedding venue in a rental space. Currently, we have been redesigning the inside on the second floor. Aesthetics, just changing it, board and batten, panels, painting, and trying to create an environment where people can have their receptions there, have weddings there, baby showers, similar events, depending on what came up, birthdays if they needed to. There's smaller venues, there's bigger venues. After the second floor is open, we're going to wait a little while, probably closer to a year, to actually finish the third and the fourth floor. And then that would be a second venue. So there are actually 2 venues that we can rent for weddings. Starting off, we're just looking at the second floor though. The entertainment permit we're looking for will be to supply bands and DJs for the wedding parties, if they have their reception there. Can you hear me now? Yep. Sorry. But yeah, so we're looking to have a wedding venue on the second, third, and the fourth floor. It'll be just multiple venues. And the DJs, the bands, they will be pretty much booked by the wedding parties. We are not looking to do a nightclub. I know that prior to me owning this building, it was the mansion, it was a nightclub, it was shut down. And there was a lot of different issues with that, with the community. We're looking mainly to just have a rental venue, something easier. I'm currently already operating the first floor restaurant, and this will be something else added to my plate. So something that is simple and easier is what I'm looking for. The catering for it, there'll be flowers. We were looking at the cost of most of these things, and the event establishment could generate closer to $10 million in revenue a year towards different groups of people. Some of it would be for caterers. Some of that catering I'll do. Primarily, I'm not really looking to do that at first. We have a second kitchen that's going to be on the first floor of the restaurant, which will be funding a lot of the food, so people can hire their own caterer, bring them in, they can use our kitchen, and they can take the food upstairs. Smaller events, say a baby shower or a meeting, something like that, you could get me to just do the catering, but I'm not opposed to you going to Quads and getting them to bring tacos. Trying to make it as versatile and as community friendly as possible. And currently there are not a ton of venues that you can go to and get married in Portsmouth. There's a couple. So that's pretty much the idea currently. If y'all have any questions, I'd like to answer them.
Commissioners, are there any questions of Mr. Walker?
I do, please.
Yes.
When you open up the second floor, what days of the week are you going to operate those events?
Okay, so wedding season, typically you can do it any day. The main days are Friday, Saturday. Saturday being the most dominant, and then Sunday and Thursday are also booked these days. So it could be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. We're planning on the weddings being over around 10, and we haven't narrowed all that down yet. It could be 11, and access to it will be early so they can set up. And we're looking somewhere around the 12 to 1 range so they can come in, set up their event, and then get out of there. And any smaller events, say if they had a baby shower, it could be before that time, and they would have to get out before the wedding party came to decorate. And it just depends. If y'all had a meeting, for instance, and y'all wanted to use the second floor for something on Tuesday, we could use that. As far as the time frame, late night, I'm guessing you're thinking after 10 to 2. We don't really plan on doing that.
So you're going to try to close it before?
For the weddings, absolutely. And, you know, I'm looking at yeah, okay, there's 3 bars upstairs. You could use them with the first floor bar, but honestly, you know, filling up the first floor bar in downtown on the weekend is tough enough currently. And we've had a lot of issues just at our restaurant after 10 o'clock. So we have security every night, and just to ensure that the restaurant is safe. So a nightclub isn't something I'm looking at.
Okay. The photo on the left, so there's 2 entrances,
Yes.
correct? So the public house is on the right, and the renovations that you make to the second floor, third floor, and fourth floor will all use the other, on the left, covered entrance.
Yes, so that's the primary entrance. There's also one that connects the 2 restaurants. The restaurant and upstairs, there's a door that goes up and a stairwell. And there's a back exit.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions of Mr. Walker? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I will say one more thing. The way we're looking at upstairs, there's on each one of these floors, there's 3 bars on each floor. The area where that is roughly from right here to where y'all are sitting, the wall behind you. It's about 1,000 to 1,200 square foot. It's a small area. So for the smaller groups, the smaller parties, that's kind of where we would put them. And if we ever used the bar area, it would never be like, so for instance, I do a St. Patrick's Day festival, which is coming on March 12th. If we ever allowed anybody to go up there for that as well, it would still only be limited to the bar area, which you couldn't put more than 75 people on each floor for that. And that would be a during the day thing.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on UP-22-04. I do have one registered speaker. When I call your name, you may come forward, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Valerie Cosnetta.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Valerie Cosnati. I reside at 430 Court Street in the Old Town neighborhood. I'm coming before you here today to speak to the planning staff's use permit standards, page 4, section V112, where it references maintaining the safety and general welfare of the residents. The wedding and banquet hall venue proposal is in close proximity to the neighborhood, and I'm requesting 2 limitations for your consideration. One is the hours of operation, and I was happy to hear that they're not going to extend late into the evening. But for the sake of completeness, I didn't know that until I got here today. And I checked with the Women's Club, who performs a lot of banquets, weddings, parties, and the latest they're ever open is midnight. So I just wanted to make that, present that to you all for awareness. And the second limitation I would ask for your consideration is a limitation on the number of patrons. And again, Mr. Walker went into a little more detail just in his speaking here before you today, which was not included in the application, so I'm working off the application. But from what I could see on the proposal, it looked to me that the second floor was 250 patrons, and then the third and fourth floor in the proposal grouped together was another 250 patrons. And so I would request that you all consider 500 for the volume, because the volume is really the most important issue that impacts the neighborhood. I do believe that the wedding and banquet hall venue can succeed with these limitations, and I do sincerely wish Mr. Walker continued success. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you all, and thank you for the benefit of your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on items UP-22-04. If there's anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Catherine Schur. I live at 325 Court Street. I've been a resident of Old Town for about 36 years and have loved the neighborhood and have had the opportunity to see how it sometimes takes 2 steps forwards and sometimes 2 steps backwards. I was here during the David fiasco on High Street and, of course, the mansion. Both of those proposals sounded exactly like what Mr. Walker is proposing. They mentioned polka dancing, weddings, baby showers, small group entertainments. And I don't know how many of you were around at the time that those 2 establishments were here, but that's not what it turned into. There was guns, there was violence, there was drinking. Some of the things that Ms. Parker referred to earlier to the first proposal, same thing, trash, needles, just not what the downtown area of Portsmouth needs, and certainly not one that's right adjacent to the Old Town neighborhood. Both of those places were closed down with the help of the Old Town Civic League going to the ABC board because the city didn't seem to be able to have any avenue to address the issue other than just monitoring it. So that's what happened. I understand that Mr. Walker's presentation seems all above board. I don't know if he's gotten a letter of support from the Old Town Civic League, that there has been emails going around the last couple of days. I just heard about this yesterday. And in the past, even when Mansion was opening, Mr. Greenhood came to the Old Town Civic League and gave a presentation. As far as I know, we haven't heard anything from Mr. Walker. I think the board did, but the rest of the residents of Old Town, I don't think were aware that this is what was on the table for a proposal. And I don't know if what the Old Town Business Association is what they're thinking about it. I'm all for the business downtown and for it thriving, but at the same time, when if I don't feel safe to walk from my house to the Commodore or to the restaurants because of all the outdoors commotions, because that's what happened. They hang out outside. They don't always hang out inside. And they drink, they bring their own stuff in their cars. And it's just not a positive environment. So I have somewhat limited knowledge. I can speak from the history of living here and experiencing the problems that evolve. It's a beautiful building. It's a large building. There's not much parking except in the garage. So it does filter down our street on Court Street and the surrounding areas that are adjacent to it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No, ma'am. Thank you. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-22-04. If there's anyone else here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Ms.
Sure.
Sure they can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm just going to touch base on a couple of things for these people that came up and spoke. The seating for the second floor, which we're opening, the number on the application was based off flat seating, like people at a table. So if we did a wedding on the second floor, you're looking at 150 people. The floor itself can hold 400 or so. The capacity is a little higher, but just for weddings, it's based off per person. And the second floor is supposed to be the bigger venue, which is around 250, and hasn't been built out yet. So some of these things are going to change, so I don't have an accurate number. Yeah, and I understand, like, that's why I touched a little base on the mansion in the beginning. A lot of different things going on with that, and I know the support wasn't there, and I heard a ton of stories since opening and operating the restaurant. I can assure you that I have spoken with the Business Association and the Civic League, and from what I'm hearing, the Business Association is in support, and so is the Civic League. I think they have some contingencies, which will be brought up. And I can't recall exactly what they were, but I think it's something about if I get the permit and it was sold, that the entertainment permit itself wouldn't transfer to whoever owned the building. For me, this is a 30-year plan, though, so this is not like build it and sell it. Also, this isn't a club, and I do understand that a lot of people could look at it like it could end up being something like that, because when you approve it, that's what these people can do. But each person is different, and you can't build a city without actually giving people chances. And sometimes you take a chance on somebody, and you might be surprised. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
You're welcome.
Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, is there any further discussion? If not, the chair is in need of a motion for UP-22-04 with conditions.
I'd like to make a motion to approve UP-22-04 with conditions.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve UP-22-04 with conditions. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Page?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Curry?
Yes.
Commissioner Hines?
Yes.
This item is approved 7-0 with conditions.
Madam Secretary, I believe that concludes our agenda for today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions or comments or concerns you need to share this time? Mr. Baldwin, is there any further discussion?
No, sir.
Hearing none, this meeting is now adjourned.